Photography plug. This photography plug news. We'd like to first start by saying yes, Sean Diddy Combs has beat one of the bigger cases in world history. That is the case. The Federal Bureau of Investigations was embarrassed by this victory, by this rap mogul. Started many years. We started many years, and we won't talk a lot about this subject tonight. I greatly appreciate everybody supporting the page. We're getting close to 150,000 real subscribers. We never push ads. We want you to pick the rails that you see. We'd like to shout out our great partners there at YouTube. Today was an announcement, a very important announcement. The RICO racketeering case, Sean Diddy Combs' own son, outside of celebrating. The attorneys all bonded together. Brian Steele and the rest of the attorneys done a wonderful job. All those amazing attorneys have done so much of an amazing job by representing that Sean Puffy Combs in that case, beating the Federal Bureau of Investigations in an embarrassing defeat, left with 2 counts of trafficking left up to the judge. And many people say he should have had a bond. This is not fair for Sean Diddy Combs to be incarcerated at this point. He was denied a bond. The jury has actually found him not guilty. He's not guilty of RICO racketeering. The Federal Bureau of Investigations has to admit, the Federal Bureau has to admit that they failed miserably using tax dollars. How do you think the Federal Bureau gets paid? An American government. A great American president, Jimmy Carter, yes, lived on that system for so many years, that welfare system for so many years. And remember, you can always support a $ photography plug because we talk capitalism. Now, maybe photography plug may not be worth $500 million. Maybe we will. But the average person would never be worth $1 billion. You say, well, you say, well, Sean Diddy Combs should have walked out of that courtroom today. And we'll be getting back to your comments. Your comments are so very important. Like I said, we very greatly appreciate all the support we get. You can always go to $ photography plug. We had a little issues with titles with YouTube. We'll be back full partners very soon. I greatly appreciate YouTube's patience for us cleaning up the page. You ever have a rule book and all of a sudden your rule books change as you go. That's just the reality of social media. We're trying our best to follow all those rules. But Sean Diddy Combs followed the rules as far as RICO racketeering. Yes, he is not convicted of RICO racketeering. You cannot say Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, is involved in RICO racketeering because the jury found him innocent, not guilty. The 2 charges that are left don't hold a billionaire behind bars. Those 2 charges that are left does not hold Sean Puffy Combs. Maybe they're trying to do like Trump, but obviously Trump didn't do any time. He was convicted of 34 felonies, of course. But he was never convicted. He was never serving time. He was convicted of 34 felonies. Our great American president was. This is a great American felon. But now Sean Diddy Combs only holds 2 felonies, yet usually does not hold a person in jail over $1 million bond. Maybe a $2 million bond, possibly a $10 million bond, but he deserves a bond before sentencing. Maybe the judge just say he's going to do like Trump and just give him time served, release him on some type of probation. Will Sean Puffy Combs be a sex offender? Excuse me. But at this point, the truth of the matter is, and I'll be reading some of these comments. The truth of the matter is, Sean Diddy Combs should not be incarcerated tonight. He should have went home with his family. He's not a Rico racketeering star. He's not Al Capone. He was one of the softest artists and rappers in the industry. He hung around with Justin Bieber, for God's sakes. He signed people like French Montana. You didn't see Suge Knight and Sean Puffy Combs on the same record label together. You seen them apart because Suge Knight and Sean Puffy Combs are two different individuals. Sean P. Diddy Combs was never affiliated with a gang. Sean Diddy Combs never wore red or blue. Sean Diddy Combs did what many people do in cities like Atlanta, New York, LA, and all over the world. Truly. Partying all night, staying up, taking pills, having some of the most beautiful women in the world that most of us would never touch. You say, yeah, my ex-girlfriend, she was very beautiful. Yes, there's a lot of beautiful women out there that know you don't have to be a celebrity to be beautiful. But if you're famous and rich and powerful, it's got to feel different. It's got to feel different if you're rich, famous, and powerful. But it's something about that dark-skinned man incarcerated, let's say perhaps with a kufi on his head, and you see that dark-skinned man in the corner, you say, who is that? That's just a normal guy that sold a couple of ounces of cocaine that got busted by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. They say, no, that's Sean Puffy Combs. That's a billionaire. If a billionaire, black billionaire does not, and hear me clearly, if a black billionaire does not get adequate representation as far as in the court system, then how could the average person be treated fairly in the Federal Bureau of Investigations? If it was a person that had $500 million, has trouble making bond, then of course the average person that'll never see $1 million will fall into that system. How many other people have fell victim to the Federal Bureau? The Federal Bureau admitted to selling drugs, being the first in the crack era. Those same narcotics 30 years later could had possibly ended up in Sean Diddy Combs' hands. If I started it, then it's a possibility for me not to just start it, but it's a possibility that I was the corporate the whole time. And you say, well, Photography Plug, it sounds like you're against the Federal Bureau. We're not against the Federal Bureau of Investigations. How many other people are afraid to say Federal Bureau of Investigations? Oh, you're just making yourself hot. My friends, in 2030, really where we at, 2025, 2030, we have no room to be afraid of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. When you pay your taxes in New York City, you're paying towards the Federal Bureau of Investigations. They say they can't be bought. The Federal Bureau lost today. The Federal Bureau was like Joe Frazier. They got knocked out. The Federal Bureau, somebody said Charleston White against, what's the big, strong white guy? Jake Paul. So you think about that. You think about, should Sean Puffy Combs be still incarcerated tonight? Should he have went home with his son and his daughters and his very small, and they're all very beautiful daughters? You must say that all of his family seems to be doing very well, very successful, richer than what we're ever touching our lives. Range Rovers, Land Rovers, beautiful mansions, yachts, beautiful women, a beautiful life. But the only problem that he was, already a felon. He was never convicted, but they say if you're, in America, you are already convicted as a felon. That you're already convicted as a felon if you're, in this country. And if the Federal Bureau of Investigations does not arrest you, my friends, you're not a valedictorian all of a sudden. We talked about that with John Gotti. One of the most influential people in American and world history is our great friend John Gotti. John Gotti was one of an icon in America, wore the suit well, and stood on the corner and never feared any federal bureau, and finally was arrested. He wasn't a school teacher. He didn't retire on the beach in Florida Keys with Bugsy Siegel. You think about that defense that Brian Steele gave Sean Puffy Combs. If you were arrested tonight by the Federal Bureau, would you be able to hire Brian Steele to defend your honor, to defend yourself? You think about what happens next for the dynasty of Bad Boy. Who's going to run the record label? Will he even be able to go? Will he even be able to go? That's the beautiful thing about being on live. You're being recorded. So a lot of times if you're ever on live, guys, the most unprosecutable crime is somebody just getting drunk, having fun, saying something, spitting something. You cannot prosecute that person. What are you going to say? Call the police and say that guy spit at me? The only thing you have is the recording. Now you're on record. Now we just see how ignorant you could possibly be. But they're not. They're just having fun. So a lot of times when you're out here on the street, you have to understand that people they don't intend. Sean Puffy Combs' intention wasn't to brutalize that woman. How many times have you beat your spouse? If you didn't beat your spouse, would she still be with you tonight? If you was a weak black man or weak white man or weak Chinese man, would your spouse be with you? What's too much too much? Are y'all wrestling or are y'all playing now? Because sometimes you wrestle in the bed. He was 40-something odd years old. She was 20-something, a lot of testosterone. A lot of testosterone in a young woman and a man in his mid-40s at the time, and they're wrestling in the hotel room. And he didn't use force as when he kicked her. I can personally remember getting into a street fight, hit a guy so hard upside his head, he had another head. Listen, Sean Diddy Combs was probably more than likely not trying to hurt her. She got up looking cute again in the corner and followed him back in the room. She didn't run downstairs like Tina Turner. And so these same guys, see if they smart enough, they know that they on live. People's behaviors change when they're being recorded. Unfortunately, illegal immigrants, I think and we have respect for the Mexicans. We love Mexican people. But the ones that are so ignorant and take all the jobs are so arrogant that they don't care if the ICE come pick them up. They just come back in, have another joyride. They'll start it all over. They'll say, okay, drop me off back in Mexico for free. And then they'll start back in California, head back over here. It's about the journey, the fun. So it's a game. And that's how we have to play it as Americans. You can't just take it so personal, not so emotional. This is a business. We're trying to move cities forward when cities don't even want to move forward and be that progressive city. When Sean Puffy Combs came into this world, he was born close to 1969, my friends. He was a dark-skinned Harlem baby being ripped off every single day and night of his life by taxation. When this black man gets out of this vehicle, he's going to be taxed more. They're going to pay more at the pump. They're going to pay more at the landlord. They're going to pay more insurance because of the area. He's paying more to drive that vehicle than if it was a you know what. Sean Diddy Combs can't make bond. If it was Brad Pitt, he would have never been incarcerated in Rikers Island or wherever Sean Diddy Combs is at in Brooklyn, New York City. Sean Diddy Combs would had never. Brad Pitt would have. Angelina Jolie could not. So many people in American history are non-prosecutable. That being Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie. The Federal Bureau of Investigations are not interested in Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. But in Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's defense, they don't have all these rap songs saying they're criminal. Sean Diddy Combs had album after album with Biggie Smalls in the back of one of the biggest, best artists in world history, Notorious B.I.G. Sean Diddy Combs was saying some of the most explicit things about Tupac Shakur and about Afeni Shakur and about this country. Sean Diddy Combs was in the back of Nipsey Hussle, egging him on, letting the world know one thing, that he was a criminal, that he was one of the worst criminals in the world. And heck yeah, it's been allegations that even Sean Diddy Combs had something to do with Biggie Smalls' death. I want to tell you guys a story because many younger people can't tell you. I'm still young, but I'm not so young to not have been a teenager at the time. Anybody would have seen Biggie Smalls, he would have been ousted, my friends. That is the reality, not just on the West Coast. So when people heard Biggie Smalls was on the West Coast, we said he had to be set up because everybody wants this guy. I'm talking about every person on the corner street wanted Biggie Smalls, you know what? Because he was killing Tupac. Tupac Shakur had died. Tupac Shakur was no longer. When Tupac Shakur was gone, my friends, Biggie was still alive. And people on every single street corner was ready to get at Biggie Smalls. So to hear he was on the West Coast with the real deal, you know what? People couldn't believe it. How could he be taught to even catch a flight to the West Coast? Who shot you? Who shot you was one of the lyrics that probably cost Biggie Smalls' life. Sean Diddy Combs somehow convinced Biggie Smalls to go to California. This was around 1996. With every single little bitty person with the smallest, you know what, was after Biggie Smalls. If anybody would have seen Biggie Smalls, it would have been over. On every single street corner, Tupac Shakur was gone. Everybody wanted revenge. And then other allegations. So many more allegations of his past wife. Sean Diddy Combs had possibly had something to do with the you know what of his wife. Sean Diddy Combs. Sean Diddy Combs. That's my boys. We like them. Shouts out to them. Shouts out to y'all. Let us know. We'll call them back. We're trying to get them. So even the possibility of him having something to do with Biggie Smalls, his ex-wife, and now the Federal Bureau of Investigations spreads out this ridiculous claim of him having thousands of bottles of baby oil. How many companies have not been charged? Who oversees the Federal Bureau of Investigations? Who oversees the Federal Bureau of Investigations? They can do no wrong. The people that oversee the Federal Bureau of Investigations is that great American citizen. That's who oversees the real law. There's something called world law. When something bad happens in America, we don't report it to the White House. We go to the United Nations and say, every country, what is going on in this country that we have on one hand that Brad Pitt and one of the softest artists in world history, Sean Puffy Combs, locked up like he's John Gotti and anybody in the world except Kid Cudi. The only person in American and world history except Kid Cudi. Except Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi, somebody said Kid Cudi can't be a rat because Kid Cudi is not a gangster. Kid Cudi is not a gangster. Kid Cudi, who ASAP Rocky is a gangster with a cap gun. ASAP Rocky pled guilty. You know how many gangsters would have said, I'll do the time before I plead guilty to a cap gun. Sean Puffy Combs should have never been investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigations about a bunch of baby oil. If I was a prosecutor, I would have never brought the baby oil part about it. That's what made it a character. That was the mistake of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. The mistake of the Federal Bureau of Investigations because you made it comical. You made it funny. It's your fault that you lost to Sean Puffy Combs. Now you have to release him legally under the law. You can hold anybody illegally. You could come out here and illegally arrest me. But when we're talking about a legal law and litigation, Sean Puffy Combs should be a free man tonight on bond because he's worth $500 million and all of us are broke. Sean Puffy Combs is a billionaire. He's been with some of the most beautiful women in the world, some of the most lavish trips in the world. He's one of the most influential people in the world and could have ran for president of the United States of America. And you say, well, photography plug, you're taking it too far. President? Why do you think everybody's making a big deal out of it? America doesn't have to spell it out to you. Sean Puffy Combs could have been president of United States of America. And now these baby oil stories, he can't. They disdained his name. They should be sued. But they got him on 2 counts, so they can't. If he would have been innocent all the way through, he would have walked out of the courtroom right then and there, and America would have been exactly what it's supposed to be: home of the free and land of the brave. America would have been exactly what it was supposed to be: home of the free and land of the brave. The Federal Bureau tried to make a comical story about baby oil, and that's why they lost. If you would have kept it with the guns, and you would have kept it with the smartness of, yeah, we found that, but don't worry about that. You wanted to embarrass this man. You wanted to make this man feel bad. You wanted to disdain his name. You wanted to make sure he could never run for president of the United States of America. But you don't know the future of this country. You don't understand the future of this country. You never have. You're always on the wrong side of history. You might be on the right side of the law. When I was in California, I seen it for myself. The Federal Bureau did nothing but land more concrete. If you came downtown and you got a building code and you land all this concrete, then who pays the bill? They're not paying rent. You think the Federal Bureau of Investigations paid for this building? The American people, with the tax dollars, pay for it. They said, well, we'll house all the money. You don't house all the circulation. It has to circulate. Money can't just sit at the feds. It has to go through the people to make America what it is. The most powerful country in the world, because the citizens are the most powerful people in the world. And shouts out to the illegal immigrants that said, you want to come, we'll come down there and we'll face you off. But shame on them for not being legal. That's when you loot. An American citizen can't loot if he's legal. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was embarrassed all over the world today. The judge tonight is embarrassing themselves. The jury said not guilty. Rico racketeering, not guilty. The jury said not guilty. Rico racketeering, he's not guilty. He's got to go home. The judge said, no, we're upstate. We're still down south. We're country. We're white America. Sometimes when you go upstate, you feel like you're further down south. I went to New Jersey and the sheriffs jumped off to their bikes like they were in Alabama. That's the truth of what America really is. When you go further upstate in Manhattan, the racism is 10 times worse in the South. Because at least in the South, our brothers would tell us, hey, we don't like you down here. Don't come down here. But when you're in New York City, it's a whole different story. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you that they're some of the most racist people that ever existed. That's just a reality. It's the suppression of whatever it may be. They say, well, make sure he's not popular enough. He's not popular. I think Angela Simmons has said it one of the best. Angela Simmons has said it, one of the best. She really did. She said, you can't stop somebody that won't quit. Somebody just commented, he should have never been free again. The diddler is going to get 7 years. I think this judge is going to try to get 20 years to Sean. Remember, we talked about 325 months is what I thought he was going to predict it to get. And I never guessed that he would had not been found guilty on the RICO racketeering. Sean Diddy Combs is like the heavyweight champ of the world. He's like Mayweather. He beat the feds. Mayweather never beat the Federal Bureau of Investigations, my friends. None of these boxers have ever fought a bigger fight You ever see anybody get knocked out in the first round? The Federal Bureau of Investigations, with all of their gall, has lost tremendously. Sean Diddy Combs embarrassed you. You're an embarrassment to American society now. The Federal Bureau of Investigations is a big embarrassment. And this is not to ever spread any hate, any harm. We want people to follow the rules. We want people to do the right thing. We want people to do the right thing. That means that if it's the law to not save somebody's life, you should save that person's life. So every law put into place when we go to the brown neighborhoods that in Harlem where Sean Diddy Combs were from, you could never have survived it. In 1969 or 70, when Sean Diddy Combs were born in 71, do you understand what type of what his mother has been through? His father died at a young age, fatherless in Harlem, and become a billionaire. And you got the nerve to try to be the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and you're going to beat this guy. As soon as they said you were not going to release him, it hit all the blogs because you thought you could destroy him by talking sexual. You thought you could say, but you didn't know that the society is heterogeny. This society is respects to Willow Smith. We love Willow. Obviously, we always love her music. We go to her page. She knows us. We know her. We love taking photos of Willow. But heterogeny, like her younger brother, Jaden Smith. This is a different society now with Pharrell walking around with a purse out in New York City. This is a different world now. This is not the world that you can disdain somebody. The only thing you can do by the Federal Bureau of Investigations is make somebody famous. And you made Sean Diddy Combs more famous than he's ever been today and tonight. Everybody's talking about this subject, and everybody's saying, well, why is he not out with his family? Why did he walk out that courtroom? The judge is, I'm holding on to faith. But guess what, Judge? You just got knocked out by a guy that couldn't even knock anybody out in the industry. Diddy Combs never was a relentless individual. Sean Diddy Combs never signed these gangster rappers. He had G-Dep. Come on, man. G-Dep went to prison and started talking about whatever. That was not the best choice. He was not a Death Row, a Suge Knight. This guy was one of the softest guys you can ever run across. That's why he allegedly had all that baby oil, and now it's proven that he didn't. The Rico racketeer and everything that you said about him is now, if you didn't have those 2 counts, just straight lies. Sean Diddy Combs proved to the world that the Federal Bureau of Investigations can be bought and can be beat and can be embarrassed and can be brutalized, meaning litigating. You understand? We talk tough topics. We don't spread violence. We talk tough topics. You can't be a putting out black media saying, no, I'm a white person that puts out black media. I can put out white media, but that doesn't mean that's authentic white media. You can't be a white person, excuse me if I may speak eloquently, and put out black media and say, well, how is it supposed to sound? What is it supposed to look like? This is what black media sounds like. This is what it looks like. And this is what it smells like. The Federal Bureau of Investigations got beat up like Joe Frazier, got knocked down like Mike Tyson, got embarrassed, got kicked, got punched. The illegal citizens made them look silly when they put them up under the LAPD, and it made them look so silly out there in LA when they trapped them and threw rocks at them and spit on them like our 34 convicted felon president. This type of country we have. We got a guy that has an amazing record, because the Federal Bureau of Investigations is making stars. I can't stand that type of car there. But the Federal Bureau of Investigations makes stars. Finesse two times. Money bag yo. Federal, 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 federal. You think I'm making it up? Bootsy came on and said, Bootsy talked about how Sean Diddy Combs shouldn't have been Bootsy. What side are you on? Do you want to be in car? It's no, this side, it's no play in the middle. If you a criminal, you're going to get locked up. Point blank, period. If you're a criminal, you're going to get locked up. If you're not a criminal, then so Bootsy, don't say, hey man, I'm not a criminal today, but I'm a criminal tomorrow. Make up your mind, because we don't understand what's going on. If the feds, if you're a guy that breaks the law, Bootsy, and hangs around with thousands of gangsters, and then the feds come and you say, like Big U, you turn myself in with my mama. Big U, respectively? You turn yourself in with your mama? Are you a gangster or you're not? Make up your mind. Puff Daddy was never a gangster, never went around said he was a gangster. He had the towel on. That's what he's going to court for now. He had that towel on. Anytime you have a towel on, my friends, you can't do too much damage. You got baby oil all on your legs. You're sliding down the hotel lobby. You're chasing your girlfriend because y'all was wrestling all night, having fun. Now it's got a little serious. And of course, it's on tape. You don't have on any shoes. You don't have on any boots. You should never touch a woman in the world. If we did that and we said, well, all people are perfect in the world, guess what? It's not a real world. Every night, arguments break out. Every night, fights happen. That couple right there, late on the night, they don't agree, they might have some type of spout. Police may be called. Guys, that's the reality of when you're in a heated relationship. Some of the most passionate relationships, some of the relationships that make America what it is. Tina Turner, that was Ike and Tina, my friends. Ike and Tina made America what it was. The stories, Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. But the Federal Bureau of Investigations never went up to Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston and said, as much as you know what, did she put up her you know what? Somebody just commented, release Diddy. Somebody just commented, make America great again. I think that Donald Trump has already accomplished everything he could possibly accomplish. And that's making America great again. The Federal Bureau just got whooped by a black man. Barack Obama wasn't even an American citizen and became president of the United States of America. A country that's been embarrassed. A country that's been embarrassed. A country that's been embarrassed. We turn around and we give Ukraine billions of dollars. We turn around and Iran billions of dollars. We turn around and give all these people billions of dollars, and American citizens can't even buy lunch. Most of these people that passed by me early today never be a millionaire. One of the silliest countries in the world. Legally, we can't do a lot, but sometimes we can embarrass you because we are America. We're embarrassing ourselves. This is our country. It's not just your country. Sean Diddy Combs made the Federal Bureau of Investigations look like a whole bunch of kindergartners. They made themselves look stupid because they said, we're going to embarrass this man's character. Nobody cared about that baby oil after y'all spreaded it all over the world. So you telling me nobody in the Federal Bureau of Investigations have ever used baby oil before? We can't talk about the penitentiary because we know what's going on in the penitentiary. So we can't say, no, the real guys are at the penitentiary. We know they're using baby oil. Go check the canteen and see if those guys are buying Vaseline and baby oil every night. So somebody said call the penitentiary. That's where real people at. No, not necessarily. That's the people that's using the baby oil. So the Federal Bureau of Investigations made a terrible decision by trying to make it a cartoon. Bring in Kid Cudi. Car burnt up. Anybody knows a Kid Cudi. If Kid Cudi comes out to your block, what are you going to do to Kid Cudi? You're going to say, hey, Kid Cudi, you know what, Kid Cudi? You're going to say, hey, Kid Cudi. You're going to say, you know what, Kid Cudi? We have to follow by the rules here. But we have to make people understand a few things. And the police said they're going to keep. But we have to understand a few things. The Kid Cudi wasn't real. How many people you know that got their car burnt up and didn't come back and say, hey, man, my car got burnt up, my Porsche? You think if Yo Gotti's Porsche would have got burnt up, do you honestly believe that Yo Gotti would have said, all right, hey, man, hey, buddy, I'm Tyler, the Creator. That's why some people, they say the next thing you know, Tyler, the Creator, Tyler, the Creator, arrested by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Turn your TV off. When they say Tyler, the Creator, arrested by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, he was so much of a gangster rapper. Turn your TV off. Turn your TV off. Guys, because this is a witch hunt. This was an embarrassment for the Federal Bureau of Investigations, embarrassing themselves once again. You would never go to another channel and as a guy said, they are an embarrassment. They have embarrassed themselves. You lost. You lose. That's what happens when you lose. One side wins, the other side loses. You lose. He doesn't have Rico racketeering. You can hold him in contempt forever, and you know you're still wrong. And the public, the opinion of the public is always going to rise to the top. The truth of the matter, the Rico racketeering that Young Thug had, he beat it. I was saying the same thing when we went to Atlanta. I said, I'm going to Brian Steele's office right now. The Federal Bureau couldn't do nothing about it. You said, well, you're interfering. I said I was going to Brian Steele's office. I called Brian Steele's office. I called all the news stations. But that doesn't mean that I actually went. We own Young Thug. We own P. Diddy. We had video of Diddy for a long time. One of Diddy's parties, not those type of parties, a concert, but it was a Diddy party. So guys, think about this as you lay down tonight and you go to sleep. Sean Diddy Combs is not with his family. The Federal Bureau tried to embarrass him and his whole family and his dynasty and everything else. Everybody in the whole world knows he's as soft as toilet tissue. I hate to say it. That is just the reality. Not now, not after him doing the time. How you doing, sir? Not after him doing the time. No, he's hardcore now. He's hardcore now. Sean Diddy Combs been doing push-ups. He's have seen things that we've never seen. He was in one of the toughest jails in the world, my friends. Now, before he got locked up, he was soft. Now you're dealing with a whole nother individual that went deep into his mind in that cell late at night doing push-ups. Sean Diddy Combs has done so much while he was incarcerated for 9 months. That is a long time. Most people in the world will never be incarcerated for that long of a period of a time. Somebody just commented straight embarrassment. The other comment, dude, are you serious? Did dude himself made those decisions that karma? Yes, it's a difference between karma, my friends, and legal and illegal. Like it's illegal for me to stab these people's tires. That's illegal. I can't do it. It's against the law. But to walk down the street and just scratch somebody's car, it's really unprosecutable. It's illegal, yeah, but who's gonna call, right? So what I'm saying is, it's a difference between when somebody said karma. It's a difference between when they say, well, we all contributed to this world in a negative way. We all destroyed this world in a negative way. We say, well, I'm a saint. Go look at your history. Go remember, and we don't promote any violence on this page whatsoever. But remember when you used to beat your girlfriend up. How many women have you beat? How many men have you beat? It's not just men beating women, it's women beating men. It's charges. Go read the newspaper. Go turn on the news. It's what happens in relationships. People are assaulted by the tens of thousands, trafficked in serious situations, and were never paid $30 million. If I was the attorney, I would have did two things. If I was that attorney, I would have did two things. I would have shown that his intent of that beating was a barefoot guy with a towel on. His intention was not to brutalize her.